Welcome, everyone, to this month's Second Tuesday seminar. This month, we're talking about how to use a handheld instrument on press or on a digital press if you have the ability to adjust the densities of the colorants of the toners or the inks to get the press to where you need it to be as fast as possible. So, as always, I'm going to start out by going through some ChromaChecker activities. We've got the Engage 360 event in Orlando, which is a week from today. I'm presenting on 6 trends going on in printing and how color control influences each of these trends. Then we will be at the Printing United show next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Please come by our booth and spend some time with us. We also have some great giveaways that I'll talk about in a minute. And then our agenda will also be available at the booth for our Color Conformance Conference coming up in February in Newport Richey. And I hope you guys can make that. In fact, just to give you an idea, at the booth, we're going to be giving away pins to our ChromaChecker users. And the pin says, "We ChromaCheck. Do you?" And so we're hoping to. We've heard many of our customers start using this term that, hey, we ChromaCheck our prints. Do you? We ChromaCheck our light booth. Do you? We ChromaCheck our instruments. Do you? So this is something that we're going to be promoting, and we're hoping that our customers will give these pins to their salespeople, so their salespeople can walk around showing, hey, we ChromaCheck. Do you? Because so many printers don't check anything. They don't check the printer. They don't check the light booth. They don't even check the instrument. So this is a competitive advantage to printers that check and ensure that the printer is printing sellable color, that the instrument's measuring correct, and that the light booth is displaying correctly. And along with this, we're giving away stickers. In fact, we'll have numerous stickers at the booth that you'll be able to take back to your office. And oops, back up for a second. The stickers say Chroma checked. So the stickers actually are something that you'll be able to put on the printer, put on the light booth, put on the instrument, so that anyone who's walking through the shop can see that, oh, this printer's being checked. Great. Oh, this light booth is being checked. Wonderful. Oh, the instrument's being checked. So it's meant to take the fact that you are digitally tracking everything and then making it more noticeable for not only management, but especially for customers that might be coming through your shop. They can see that, oh, you're chroma checking all these devices. That's awesome. We know that quality is important to you and sustainability is important to you, and you're doing what you need to do. And the way this sticker is made is you can put your E factor is less than, let's say, 3 for my Epson proofer. The E factor might be less than 5 for my color press. So people get a sense of, okay, how accurate each printer is. But if you don't like that, you can cut that off, or you could just put everything at a given number. But the concept is you can exploit it if you want to in terms of showing off your quality and your accuracy, how accurate you are to the color. Now, the color conference is coming up February 3rd through the 5th, and we're going to, I'm being aggressive on our content. We're doing 3 days, 2 parallel sessions, pretty much the whole time. We'll have some keynotes. For instance, we've got Andy Krauschauer from FOGRA, who's the head of ISO 12647-2 committee. He'll be at our conference. He'll be talking about the universal characterized data set, which is going through the final approvals and so forth to be the new universal standard, emerging FOGRA with Grackle. And so in the US, we'll probably see something called Grackle 2026 coming out next year, uh, maybe around the time of the conference. So that's a session you're definitely want to see. And then we're focusing on four of the key trends in printing today: packaging, branding, sustainability, and AI and automation. Um, we actually have a certification track for ChromaChecker as well, so that depending upon what session's going on, you can go see the event that's most interesting to you. So it's not going to be as ChromaChecker centric as past events. It's going to be a much wider diversity of sessions. So I hope to see you guys there. And the early bird special is still $795. So ton of content for $795. The hotel information is on our website. You can get hotels for $110 a night, brand new hotels. And we've got a shuttle going between the hotels again. So you have three hotel choices. I really hope to see you there. I want to push our printer sales registry. We had a number of additional printers sign up this past month. Um, we want more. This registry, the concept is that if you offload jobs to other printers, or you want to take on offloaded jobs from other printers, please sign up in our registry underneath the main menu in ChromaChecker. And in this way, when our customers go to look to see, hey, who else has an Indigo that I can send data to? You, if you have an Indigo and you're open for business, it'll ask you what your e-factor is, and it allows our customers to connect. And more, we have brand companies like well, I don't want to use any specific name. There's multiple brand companies that have signed up just in the last 2 months, and they'll be able to use this printer sales registry also to know who they can send files to and know the quality they're going to get versus doing manual audits of printers and trying to see if the printer can do their work. They can look in the registry and say, oh, ABC Litho can do 5E factor. That's perfect for me. I'm going to send my work to them. And they're close. So in this way, you can offload jobs and get jobs offloaded to you. So it's a sales registry. Next, we're going to talk about some ChromaChecker improvements. If you've been in ChromaChecker in the last week or so, you've noticed this. When you go into the printer track, instead of having to scroll to see the timeline, now you shouldn't have to scroll. Even on a small window, you should be able to see the timeline. And we've made the sorting criteria in a horizontal layout versus a vertical layout. And of course, you can go into the edit button on the far right side if you want to make additional changes. So it's a more streamlined approach. And especially for new users, it helps you see the timeline immediately. Another new function we've done is if you've used Capture and you know that when you first measure a target, and we'll show this because I'm going to show Capture in my presentation here today. When you first do the measurement, let's say you measure a color bar that allows you to generate a G7 curve. Like this single row color bar off of a press sheet, I'm going to show you how you can measure this and iterate a G7 curve off of this bar. But you know, if you've used it, if you do another measurement, you lose that data to build the curve from Capture. You can build the curve from the cloud, but you can't do it from the client Capture. That's changed now. Within the summary tab of any data, you now have the ability to either build an ICC profile, build a G7 curve if the data warrants it, a curve being built, or making a PDF report or printing the PDF report. So you don't have to do it right away. You can come back to it after the fact and use that data to now build a curve without having to do it from the cloud. So that's a feature that I think a lot of our users will enjoy. The next new improvement, and these are all improvements in the last month, um, logins for managers. As you know, if you're a ChromaChecker user, you have an expert login, and then you can assign managers to have their own logins, and you can assign operators to have their own logins. And the managers only see devices that are relevant to them, and the operators only see devices that are relevant to them as well. Now, within the manager login, before you could only see the print inspector and the accountability inspector. Now we've added both the color inspector and the environment inspector so that managers can get a better sense of what's happening on the plant floor. And this has been, we had a number of customers asking for this, so we've added this into it, which makes it much more useful for the manager. And we've added our artificial intelligence agent, which you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner for the manager login as well. So this allows the manager to click on Peter, that's what we call our AI assistant, and type, how do I change the accountability inspector to do this? And Peter will go ahead and literally tell you how to do what you want to do. And now it stays open. That's another new change that we did. So that as you go through the menu of the accountability inspector and make the changes, you can read along to see exactly how to do it in the steps you need to do it in. So lot of improvements. The AI module keeps getting better. That's this Peter that I mentioned. We now support over 20 languages, and we've gotten really good feedback on that. Another new thing we've done is when you look at your within Print Inspector and you look at your overview, down at the bottom, we've added another blue button that says Create Track Template. The concept here is that when you start using Project Inspector, which many of you have made that addition to your repertoire, Project Inspector allows you to take a given track that you've defined for a given print condition, make it a project, and then publish it so third-party printers that are doing offload work for you will get essentially the print requirements of that print process so that it encapsulates what the print process needs to do in terms of the aim point, the tolerances, the reference, all whether SCCA is on or off, all that's contained in a track template. And so even if you don't send work to other people, if you want to take the template that you've built for, let's say, one indigo and apply it to 5 other indigos and 2 other Incas, you can do that very quickly with the project inspector in that you can take the track template, apply it to different printers, and you don't have to do what you used to have to do is go into each printer and manually create the track and define the track to match the other. Now think of a track template as you set it up one time from the cloud, and then you can assign it to all your printers. And we've got printers, we've got customers now that have over 2,000 printing devices on ChromaChecker. So what this means is you can apply a track template to those 2,000 printers. And the beauty is, if you want to change one thing, let's say you want to change the tolerance from a 5E factor to a 4.5E factor because you've really got these printers under control. You don't have to go into 2,000 individual tracks and change that tolerance. You change it one time from the project to the track template, and it ripples through the entire install base of that track template, whether it's in-house or outside the house. So even printers that are doing work for you outside the company, you change that tolerance for that project template, it'll ripple to them as well. And it'll give them a warning telling them that you've changed it so they're not blindly looking at a different tolerance, it actually gives them an email warning saying, hey, Dave changed the tolerance for the track template XYZ to this. And so in this way, it makes managing printers easier than ever before. So very exciting. Now let's get to today's topic. And by the way, guys, ever any questions? Beth's monitoring the chat, so please just add any questions on the chat, and we'll go ahead and answer them on the fly for you. Uh, Today's agenda is using a handheld instrument, and I had a bunch of feedback from my team about which instrument I should use. I'm using the Exact One, and the reason I'm using the Exact One is because there's a lot of Exact One users out there, and they're using Exact One on press to manually measure a press sheet, which today is still insane to me, but you'll see with Capture connected to the Exact One how easy it is versus trying to migrate through the exact menus. Now, this also works with a Teshcon, or it works with the Exact 2, which I have up on my instrument here. And our Exact 2 interface is out of beta. It's working now. So if you've upgraded your Exact, we support that too. And the Exact 2 is better from a wireless standpoint. It's more the Exact 1 was supposed to work with wireless, but wasn't real stable. And then, of course, everything I'm doing here, I could also be doing with an I1. So if you're working on an offset press and you have an I1, you could be doing these things as well. Or if you have a digital press that allows you to adjust, let's say you're a technician for a digital press company, and you can adjust the way that the ink or toner lays down on the printer, you can use an I1 to quickly hit the right densities for, let's say, Grackle using Capture and our interface here. So I'm going to be showing how to hit the densities quickly and how it guides you to hit the right density, whether increasing density or decreasing density, get the lowest delta E. I'm going to show you how to match spot colors and spot color simulations. I'm going to show you how to check the evenness across the page very quickly and easily, how to create color standards, and how to do this even for ECG sheets. So I have a sheet with CMYK, orange, green, and violet, and we'll use the new ID Alliance. We'll use the new ID Alliance ICC profile to see if I have the OGVs right, and even make reports. So with that, let me go ahead and leave my presentation, and we're going to go into Capture. And in Capture, I've got it configured to my Exact. So we show you a video, a 2-minute video of how to use the Exact with Capture. So even if you've never used the Exact before, you will know how to use Capture with the Exact. So the first thing I want to do with the Exact is measure the substrate, because measuring the substrate will give us information that allows me to predict what's going to happen in regard to my density and what I need to do with my density to get to the right optimum values. And to do that, I'm going to change now my pop-up menu here for source of reference to CMYK. Then I'm moving down here and choosing Grackle. And as long as you've got Grackle loaded in your ChromaChecker library, it'll pop up here. Don't worry about that yellow right there just yet. I'm going to now measure the black on this press sheet. And as I measure the black, you'll see it comes up and it shows me it's 1.5 delta from where it needs to be. And when I zoom in on this ink GPS is what we call this, you can see the dot here represents where the black is in terms of density. So it's about a 1.6 density black. And it knows, because it's spectral data, and we call it ink GPS because it guides you to the optimum value. If we increase density 9 points, and you can see that right here, if we increase 9 points of density to 1.69, our delta E will go from 1.5 to 0.49. Now, 1.5 is more than close enough, but this helps you dial it in. So as you're getting a press up to speed with a handheld instrument, this is immediate. And notice that it knew I was measuring black, so it populated that automatically. I didn't have to tell it I'm measuring black. Like right now, I'm measuring cyan. I'm not telling it I'm measuring cyan. And up it knows that, oh, you want cyan now. It says I'm 0.6. And you see the cyan is at the apex of that V, so it's perfect. I can't get any better. In fact, this is a real press sheet, guys. One of our customers, and they did a phenomenal job. And so now I go to the magenta, and you can see it's 1.5, also at the apex. I go to yellow, and the yellow is zero point 0.9, also at the apex. So this sheet's really dialed in, at least in the middle of the sheet where I'm measuring. So now what I want to know is what's the evenness from left to right? So I'm going to start variation. So by clicking on start variation, I'm now going to take my instrument and start measuring from one side to the other side. So we're going to measure the cyan starting on the left side of the sheet. And you'll see, as I'm measuring on the left side of the sheet, it's telling me at the same time where the density is on the left side of the sheet. So as I'm looking at this, I can see whether or not the left side of the sheet is low or high. I don't need to keep track of the numbers as the press guy would have to do. He'd be looking at the density, 1.48, 1.56, 1.62, which one's which. Trying to keep all those numbers in the head. Look at this. This just allows me to scan right across the sheet and instantly know that it's even. So I put 7 samples in. The E factor is 0.42. That's crazy good in terms of being consistent from left to right. That means 95% of the colors of the cyan are less than 0.42 different from left side to right side, which is just great. Now, someone just asked, can I do ink zones on this? And it's interesting. Let me do a couple more measurements on this because this came to me this morning when I was working with a customer on this. And I thought, you know what? We should be able to do that. Because right now we have this uniformity graph that I'm graphing here. And it's set up so if you're doing a package, like something with consistent colors in different corners of the package, you want to see that the whole package, the whole press sheet is even. So this one's doing uniformity with the center at 0. This one's overall average, which gives us how consistent, if we were measuring in a square, how consistent the measurement would be. But I'm thinking I'm adding a feature request to ask it to be either square or linear and have it linear to show what the ink keys are doing. So that's something that I'm going to ask for, and hopefully we'll see that shortly because it's super powerful for a press guy just to quickly see what's happening on the press sheet. Now I'm going to come back to this press sheet because it's quite interesting. It's a real customer job, and we'll come back to that. Now, there was a question from someone saying, hey, can we do the same thing with ECG? Well, meaning extended color gamut. You see this says N color. That means extended color gamut. So I'm going to go to the Alliance, the Idea Alliance data set that we've released recently. I've been part of the committee for this ECG data set. And notice that as I go and I measure, let's say let's measure the orange first. So I'm measuring the orange. Now I can tell you this sheet was not printed to the Idea Alliance data set. And you can see right here, it knows that I measured the orange and it's saying I'm 4.2 away. And if I reduce the density, because I'm on the right side of the V, so if I bring down density 25 points, I can get to a 3.2 delta E with this ink set. So now let's see what the green looks like. So I'll put it on the green, measure it, and it shows that it's 4.7. And if I reduce by 33 points of density, I can get to a 1.2, or I can get to a zero point 0.2 delta E. So these inks will work. It's just a bit heavy the way it was printed. And the purple actually needs to come up a little bit, but it's only 2.8 off. So this Idea Alliance data set will work for this press sheet that was printed. And if I bring up the violet by 10 points of density, I can get my delta E down to 2. I'm 2.8. That's more than sufficient. And if you notice, it knows which color I'm measuring. So it automatically goes through it, which makes it super powerful. Now let's talk about spot colors. So let's say I'm trying to do this Mounds red. I can go into my source of reference and I'll say color inspector. And then in my library, I have a Mounds library. And now it's measuring the violet against the chocolate brown because I have auto recognition turned on. But if I come over here and I actually measure the red off the sheet, it'll come up and it says it's 0.3 delta E off, and I'm perfect density. Now I'm going to measure the other side of the sheet for the brown. Notice I'm not telling if I'm measuring red or brown. I'm just measuring brown there, and it automatically comes up and says, hey, the brown is 0.8 delta E, and it shows me the 2 delta E tolerance, so that's why it's showing me a pass. And I can make a report for this to show the customer that I'm printing right. I'm now printing another orange here. It comes up, oh, this orange on the same sheet is failing. It's a 3, but it's in a different place on the sheet. So I know that if I bring my density up 20 points for that color, I will be at the apex and I'll be back down within my 2 delta E. So very, very easy to measure colors. And let's say let's say I want to see what the cyan looks like compared to Grackle. So I'm just going to measure that cyan here off this press sheet. So it comes up, it's going to try to match to the chocolate brown, which obviously isn't going to work. But if I go back to my CMYK and I go to the Alliance CMYK, it knows it's cyan. It's 16 delta E off the Alliance ECG profile. And it's way heavy compared to where it should be. It needs to come down 78 points of density. So hopefully process color on this page isn't meant to represent like a G7 condition. But you see how easy this is, very powerful to go back and forth. And I see questions come up. What if I want to compare the two reds on the sheet? Well, if I change this source of reference to Scratchpad, one of the reds was here, so I click on it. And then the other red will be listed here. So 105 is what I clicked on. Here's 103, which was an earlier version. And think of this, guys. I'm taking measurements I did 2 and 5 measurements ago. If you were doing it on the exact, you'd have to remeasure these colors. I'm able to call them up because every color I've measured so far is stored in my scratch pad over on the left. And just by clicking on it, I can then compare any two colors. And you can see that even though they're on the same page, this red on the bottom of the page was a 3.1 delta E, where the red on the top, or actually right now it's a 3.1 delta E different from the red on the other side of the page. That's what that is. If I wanted to go, how different is it to the Mounds red? I go back to Color Inspector. It automatically loaded the Mounds library, and it shows me that red 105 is the one that's in violation at 3.0. If I click here on red 103, which I read right before the 105, you can see it's 0.3. So you don't have to remember stuff as a press operator. It's all right here for the operator to work with. Now, let's take another example. And oh, by the way, if I wanted to take a color here, let's say I wanted to take a color on this sheet, and I'm just going to measure right here. It's kind of chocolate brown, but not really. It comes up chocolate brown 12 off. Let's say I wanted to make another color related to this color and store it in my library. And if you look in my library, I've got two colors, Mounds red and chocolate brown. But if I wanted to add this darker chocolate brown to it, all I need to do is come over here to assets, click on it, I can call it dark chocolate. I'll just do dark choco, and I'll add it to the Mounds library, and I say save, and now it's saved in the library. So all I have to do is refresh the screen here. And if I go back in and I remeasure that color with Mounds in the auto recognition, you'll see it comes up and it automatically recognizes that it's the chocolate brown. So in this way, you can very quickly make new colors and check them to see if it's the color you want. And I just have to switch here for a sec and measure the color. And here you see it's 0.1 delta E on the auto recognition of the dark choco, which I misspelled, so you know I did it right. Now, let's do another example. Let's say I'm doing something for Best Buy. So I have a Best Buy sample here in my stack. And if you've ever done work for Best Buy, you know that you manually have to measure 18 of their spot colors and write them down on a piece of sheet paper to prove to them that you can print this to their expectations. Well, this is a color bar that ChromaChecker generates for spot colors or a combination of spot and process colors. ChromaChecker builds color bars that you can then apply. And I'm going to go into my print inspector now because instead of doing a spot check with Quick Checker, I'm actually going to measure a strip. So I'm measuring this strip and my exact comes up showing me I'm in strip mode. And now I'm going to put the instrument on the first patch, push it down, then drag the instrument across the 22 patches in a row. And then ChromaChecker comes up and it shows me that I'm a 7.5 E factor, so this sheet's failing, but now it's showing me each individual spot color and what their delta E's are and what their densities are. For this one, I need to reduce density by 6 points, this one increase by 7 points. And if I go to my summary, I get all the information with the parafarbs. So you can see what's going on. And you actually, ChromaChecker gives you a warning sign. So if this were a true spot color, it's telling you no density is going to get you to the tolerance that Best Buy wants. You've got to reformulate this ink. So that's what the warning means. And if I hover over it, it'll tell me that. So all 18 colors automatically measured like this. And a couple of colors are identical. So it tells me what the uniformity is between the colors. So very powerful, very fast. Now, the next thing I want to do is go back to that first sheet that I showed you. And this sheet, like I said, is from a customer. And this customer has ChromaChecker, what we call G7 calibrated color bars on their Komori presses. And that means on the color bar, you've got all the necessary gray finders that are in a P2P are actually in the color bar. And yet the solids for cyan, magenta, and black are still in every ink zone. You still have overprints and so forth. And in this way, you can take the data from the color bar over true production runs, customer jobs, take that data and generate a G7 curve or update an existing G7 curve to accommodate press changes or consumable changes on press. And remember, if it's part of the color bar, you can have hundreds of measurements in here, so you can have different types of coated paper stock. You don't want to mix coated and uncoated, but nobody prints on one coated paper stock. So you can mix different types of coated paper stocks with this color bar and generate a curve that's relative to the type of paper stocks that you run that month. So if you've got an accountant that goes with the cheapest paper of the month, you can iterate the curve based on the cheap paper they're running this month versus last month. Not that you'd ever want to do that, but some of you don't have a choice. Now, this is their Heidelberg press, and in the Heidelberg press, they can't have a color bar with the gray finders in it because Heidelberg doesn't allow that. And they're using the Heidelberg measurement device. Now they could get rid of the Heidelberg measurement device, put an IntelliTrax in there, and then they could do this, but we won't go there. So what they did is they use a version of our CC84 target, which most of you probably know is a 3-row to work with an I1. They've got it in a single row that can work with a scanning exact. And this is actually a sheet they submitted for submission, and based on where the densities were, you see why they submitted it as a G7 qualified sheet. But it also has a G7 verifier on here with the QR code, so that this is a copy of one of the sheets they submitted to ID Alliance that year to say, hey, I am G7 compliant. Think of this, no more dedicated press runs. Now, some of you and some of you consultants might be intimidated by that, but this is savings of thousands of, a typical dedicated press run costs $5,000. If you as a printer are making 2% on your sales, that press run just cost you $100,000. Take 5,000 divided by 0.02. That's how you need $100,000 of additional sales to make up that dedicated press run. It makes no sense to do dedicated press runs. And watch what I do here. Now I'm going to stand up for this because the bar is a little bit longer. So I'm going to start on the first patch. I'm going to put the instrument down. It's ready to go. It gives me the circle. I scan it across the, did something wrong. Let's try it again. No one's perfect. So, oh, I don't have ChromaChecker set to do this. So let's go back to capture. And it's still thinking I'm reading the 22 color bar version. So I just have to tell it. You kind of get spoiled. ChromaChecker knows which color I'm doing when I'm in spot mode. It doesn't automatically know what I'm doing when I'm in scan mode. Now, you can put QR codes on these targets and scan the QR code, and then ChromaChecker knows, oh, it's this target. So you can do that, but I obviously didn't do that. So now I'm going to remeasure this sheet, this CC84 single row target. So as I scan across the sheet, I'm done scanning. And then up, the sheet's going to come up, and oh my goodness, look at this, a 3.8 E factor. Guys, an offset press running at a 3.8 E factor without ICC profiles is really amazing. That's as good as you can ever expect. Typically, with just G7 curves, just one-dimensional curves on the press, you're going to get maybe about a 4 to 5 if the press is really running right. Here we're a 3.8, so we're on the really good side of the 4. Usually you can only get to a 3.8 if you're applying device links in the workflow for an offset press, which requires a lot more work and requires you to implement things like our nip inspector and our fountain solution, the other things in ChromaChecker that we have to make sure all the variables on the press stay stable. But in this case, you see the press is good, my overprints are good, my solids are good, my dot gains are good, my G7's good. If I go to my summary, it gives me more information. I could increase a couple of the densities a little bit. Black, as we said, we could go up a little bit. Here are my 4 G7 metrics. And just watch, if I go to timeline, I can go back to a measurement I did a week ago, or I could go back to a measurement I did an hour ago. And before, I wouldn't have the ability to update the curve. But now notice there's a G7 curve button here on the right, and a report button and a print label button. They're on everything. So if I go back in the timeline back to here, I've got these same buttons. So this is one of the new features I talked about where you can go ahead and go to any data. And now here's the details on the G7 curve data. Shows me the tonality is all good. The gray balance is all good. Shows me solid deviation to the reference. So how close are the CMYK red, green, blue overprints and the 3 color to the reference. And it shows me, since there's multiple combinations of cyan, magenta, yellow, red, green, blue in that CC84 color bar, it's telling me what the variation is within the color bar across the sheet, which there's more variation in the paper than almost anything else, but it's all good. So in this way, ChromaChecker is extremely powerful in terms of what it gives you in terms of showing you how the printer is printing and what you need to do to make it work. So that pretty much covers what I was hoping to share with you today. Just a couple other issues about ChromaChecker Capture. It's a very thin app, so it can work on a $100 Windows tablet computer. You just need to make sure you have at least two USB ports, one for the instrument and one usually for the power. Or if you want a barcode reader or data logger, something like that, it's nice to have extra USB ports. And with Capture, one module gives you the ability to track the printer, the instrument, substrates, lighting, the plates, because it drives plate readers like the IC plate or the spectral plate, and even fountain solution that you can input manually into Capture. And we have a new module in Capture just for packaging, which we've talked about it last couple of months. We're going to be showing it in much greater detail probably next month. And then it supports all of these instruments, including sphere instruments. You can hook it with our gloss meter. So if you have customers that are wanting to measure gloss, you can do that as well. So very flexible tool here that gives you this capability. So in summary, if you have operators using handheld instruments to check the press sheet, please upgrade them to new technology. I mean, if I do a compare on the Exact, I have to hit the compare, click on one, click on the other. With Capture, if I want to do a compare, let me just show you how easy it is. I can take this measurement and I can go here to Scratchpad and compare it to this measurement. And so that measurement to that measurement, cyan 83 to cyan 92, 0.1 difference. Or if I go to 77, 1.1 difference. So easy to take any two measurements and compare the difference. So let's go that magenta and this magenta. Find another magenta here. That one, 3.3. It's just the operator will like thank you and it'll make his job so much faster. He won't have to remember colors and write colors down. It's just very quick. So Capture also gives you the ability to create very professional customer reports. It allows you to make color libraries. So like if someone gives you colors and say, hey, or they have ChromaSpot colors or even Pantone colors, if you can load those colors via CXF into ChromaChecker and then measure against them within Capture. In fact, let's just kind of show that. If I come here to my color inspector and I go to my library and I've loaded the Pantone colors in here because I've got the library in here in ChromaChecker, and it automatically figures out that on that magenta 86, Pantone 2452 is the closest at a 2.4 delta E. Or if I go with one of the Mounds Red, if I go to the Mounds Red 82, it says Pantone 179 is the closest at 2.6, and I can get it closer by reducing density by 10 points. So this type of functionality, you just don't get this fast from the instrument. So I hope that you will take advantage of upgrading your operators to using ChromaChecker Capture on press. And by the way, if you don't have a ChromaChecker subscription and you don't want one, let's say you don't care about tracking how all your printers are manufacturing color and you don't care about comparing your different printers to one another. You just want to give the operator the ability to do what I shared today, minus the G7 curve. That costs $550 for the year. So the $550 added on to a $8,000 Exact 1 or a $10,000 Exact 2, that's nothing. It improves the productivity so much that it's a no-brainer. And I hope you'll take advantage of it and help get your press operators even more effective than they've been so far. So Beth, any other questions that have come in?
Nothing else.
All right. Well, guys, I'd like to thank you for attending today's session. I hope you found it valuable. And as always, I hope to see you at the Printing United show next week to come pick up your pins and saying we ChromaCheck, as well as the stickers that you can put on your devices. You can even put these on prints. So right now we're coming out with 4-inch stickers, but we've already had some of our beta users say, hey, can you come out with like a 2-inch sticker that I can actually put on important prints that I want to show my customers that, hey, we've checked these and these are right. So, and the other thing I'll mention is we're giving you the artwork. Our customers, we're giving you the artwork so you can make your own stickers or make your own labels, whatever you want to do. So that's another key thing that we're doing here to make things easier for our customers. So again, appreciate it, guys. Thanks as always, and looking forward to seeing you next month.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah,
one more question from a late joiner. Do we have updates on the color conference?
yeah. The dates on the Color Conference are February 3rd through the 5th in Newport Richey.
And the early bird price is $7.95.
Yep. Early bird price $7.95. And we've got the goal is 2 parallel tracks for 3 days of the conference. We've got Andy Krauschauer from FOGRA, who's head of the ISO 12647-7 committee coming. We hope to have some other surprise names coming from all over the world to help lend their perspective on color as we know it in 2026. So thanks again, and we will hopefully see you next week at the show. If not, see you at the conference.